Okay, so good morning, everybody. Happy Monday for me. You guys are gonna be watching this on a Tuesday. I'm currently 90 so pages into 50 Words for Rain by Asha Lemme. I'm assuming it's Can I Hold Things? Oh my goodness, by Asha Lemme. I'm having a good time with it. It's a fine read so far. Here's the thing. This is a lot of very sad things happening. When we left off yesterday, her brother had just arrived. Now her brother is teaching her how to play the piano. No, the violin. I don't know why I said piano. So he's teaching her how to play the violin. There's some lessons. And now sis has scarlet fever. So she's really going through it, trapped in this attic like fucking Cinderella. But the gag of it all is her grandmama was like, yeah, she can die. She can die. Children have survived hundreds of years without getting medication, so we can't really. It's not in the budget, even though we have all this money. I also am not entirely sure how historically accurate any of this is, because I know absolutely nothing about the post World War II occupation of Japan by the American Armed Forces. That's something that is definitely happening here. They're talking about how, in order to get these scarlet fever drugs, they'd have to deal with the Americans, and the Americans might not approve it, and that's why it's going to cost a lot of money. So I don't know anything about that. I haven't looked into any of that, so that's interesting. I also don't know anything about how, because they're supposed to be, our main character, her grandmama, is like the cousin of the emperor of Japan. And I knew they were supposed to be like an aristocratic family in this book, but I didn't realize that, the aristocracy family was still big chillin'. I just thought that, they weren't. I mean, like I said, I know absolutely nothing. I was assuming that the Emperor of Japan after World War II is just like a figurehead. Like, I know that they still have an imperial family. That's why we have this little Tokyo ever after. I believe like 2 months ago, one of the princesses got married or like stepped out of the royal family, something. She like married a regular person. So like I know that the emperor and everything is like around, but I didn't realize that, like his cousins still got to keep all their land and their servants. It's very strange, very strange. Maybe I should look into that. I probably won't, but that's what's happening here. Our main character Nori is suffering through some scarlet fever. She's learning to play the violin. She's still, I'm still getting Flowers in the Attic vibes. There's something going on with Akira and Nori, and I am slightly uncomfortable because they are related. They are definitely siblings. They share a mother. So like, please don't, please, like. I'm very much looking forward to and I know that the book goes until 1965. We learned that yesterday. But I'm still very nervous. Very nervous. We also get these like sections within the chapter from Akiko, who was one of like the little servants on the grounds who was like charged with looking after Nori, and she was the one who was calling, the black people lions or whatever. Um I don't really know if I appreciate her perspective. I would definitely much rather have Akira's perspective, specifically because I don't really care about Akiko. Like I just don't. So looking, and hers is also in first person, which is it's weird because the rest of the book is in third. So those are some of my thoughts. I think like another 20 or so pages until I'm done with today the actual pages for our little buddy read. So I probably will stop there. I still have about 2.5-ish hours, a little over 2.5 hours, until I have to leave to go to work. So I probably will have like 2 hours by the time I get to, through those 20 pages or whatever. And my goal is to start reading Razorblade Tears before I go to work. At work, I don't have any of these things on audio. So I think I'm going to listen to The Burning God. But y'all didn't hear that from me. Y'all did not hear that from me. I didn't say that. But I think that's what I'm going to do. It's not written by a black author, but I want to get that done because I don't think my February project, I don't think it's going to happen this month because I still have so many things to read for it. I think I'm just going to bits and piece my way through that project, and when it's done, it'll be done, and y'all see it when you see it. So I think I'm going to listen to The Burning God, and then hopefully I'll finish that this week as well. I'll check in with you guys when I'm in the car on my way to work. let you know what I think of Razor Blade Tears, and if anything exceptional happens in 50 Words for Rain, I'll mention it there too. Y'all, so this is a vlog. We can be a little informal. We can use the webcam here, right? We can do that. So I've read some more Razor Blade Tears, and by some more, I mean literally 11 pages of this godforsaken book. So where I left off, there was the homophobic preacher man who was burying the little children. I'm calling them children. These were like probably people in their mid 20s, just for clarification. So they buried the little man and his his husband or whatever, and I said, this is foolishness. These people allegedly, did all the planning for their funeral. Everything was all set up. His dad just had to sign some papers. And yet, somehow, for some godforsaken reason, there was a homophobic pastor at the funeral. Then we found out that the mama asked the homophobic pastor to be there, I guess because you need to have a pastor at the funeral, even though apparently that also wasn't included in your children's discussion. Whatever. Then we have a confrontation with Ike, who is the black father. Ike confronts the preacher and is like, how dare you call my son an abomination? And I'm like, sir, your son is dead. Like, I too was outraged that he was being called an abomination, but at the same time, you did not have a relationship with this person, and now they're dead. So far be it from you to be Mr. High and Mighty when you did not care about your son being alive. You did not have a relationship with your son being alive. Now that he is dead, I don't see why we're here, why we're doing this. This seems foolish. The chapter ends. We go to the white man, Buddy Lee, because of course his name is goddamn Buddy Lee. So we go to Buddy Lee, and Buddy Lee is sitting in his trailer, also after the funeral, and his little landlord comes. We learn that Buddy Lee is unemployed, he has no prospects in life, which makes sense because these two men are supposed to go on the hunt for their son's killer. Obviously, if you're, well to do or whatever, I guess you wouldn't do that. But you're some white trailer trash, I guess you're just gonna go murder some people or whatever. But his landlord comes, and his landlord is like, Buddy Lee, you owe me money. You owe me money. And Buddy Lee is like, sir, I just buried my son. And on one hand, I get it. But also, your landlord is going to come collect the rent. And especially if you know that you already missed a payment, they're definitely going to come collect the rent. Like, I don't know what you think is going to happen, sir. Having your son murdered is not a get out of jail free card. Maybe that makes me insensitive because I don't have children. I'm never going to have children. I'm never going to go through this. Whatever. It's not a get out of jail free card. But for some reason, the little landlord decides that he's going to start hurtling, or he's going to attempt to hurl like some homophobic comments about Buddy Lee's dead son. And it's like, this doesn't even make sense. Like, this is just gratuitous at this point. Like, do I think that people use homophobic slurs? Yes, I do. I think that they do that. Do I think that the landlord is going to come, oh, you owe me money, and that's why, you're a good for nothing, homeless, like unemployed bastard, and that's why your son is a faggot? No, I don't think that's what people do. I don't think that's what people do. I don't think people go, you owe me rent, Buddy Lee. Your son is a faggot, and that's why no one is doing that. But in the world of this book, that's what attempted to happen. And Buddy Lee whips out a little switchblade and presses it to the stomach of his landlord. And it's like, sir, if you were already on thin ice, you just cracked the ice doesn't exist anymore. Like, we are in the frozen goddamn river. Like, we are getting hypothermia because of your stupid actions. But whatever. The little landlord man, he scrambles away. The chapter ends, and we're back to Ike. And Ike is talking about how there's these like pretty sentences about how he thought that, time was going to thaw, but now time was a river made of quicksilver and it was running through his hands, and, he should have just walked across the glacier. And it's like all of these comments about you never coming to terms with your son being gay, but all of a sudden you are mad at the homophobic preacher man. I think that these are definitely conflicting ideas that a single person can have. Do I think they're compelling to read about? No. No, because I think that, again, what is at the core of this for me is that I do not like, if you want your motivating factor to be the death of these two gay men, sure, but then don't try and make me see like, oh, I did care about them. I don't care about them. I don't think that S.A. Cosby is doing a good job of that. I don't see it. I don't see what y'all are seeing. I think that it's just boring. It's boring. It is weak writing. If they were, motivated to do this because their wives had been murdered, I would think the same thing. Like, y'all are just boring. You're boring. Like, what they are seeking to gain from hunting these people down cannot be obtained. It is it is a mission in futility as far as I'm concerned. However, what really killed me is then the detective man, after all, those little pretty little metaphors and similes and discussions about time and how he thought he had more of it. He gets a call from the detective, and the detective is like, "Hey, we want to come by and talk to you." And Ike is like, "Well, people don't really want to talk to the police because y'all are the police. It doesn't matter if no one's like in it. Like, we're all innocent here." And the detective man is like, "Well, kind of need to talk to you." And I'm like, "You know what? I get Ike's hesitancy. I understand it. I don't think that's unfounded." But then he wants to bust out with, "Well, was your son murdered? Was your son shot in the face? Was your son shot in the face and then they emptied a clip into his face? He was shot like 25 times in the face. Was that your son?" And I said, "S.A. Cosby, you have already murdered the gays. The gays are buried, okay? They literally were buried. Like, we were literally just at the funeral. So they are gone, okay? The establishing motivation factor is here, okay? We don't need to I didn't need that. I didn't need it. I'm like, I just did not need to know that clip was emptied into that man's face because I don't know these people. And maybe, the book is 300 pages. There is time, allegedly, for me to get to know these characters. Do I think it's going to happen? No. I don't think I am. All I'm going to know about these people are that they had terrible daddies and they had rough circumstances because they were both kind of born on the wrong side of the tracks to parents that weren't supportive, and they found each other and then they were murdered. And it's like they themselves are never going to be fully realized characters because they exist solely to push the narrative forward. And if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. Love that for y'all. But it's just not doing it for me. It's just not doing it for me. It's boring. It's boring. The writing is it's fine. Okay, I'll give him that. Like, sometimes I think his little turns of phrases are fine, but other times, and by other times I mean so far a lot of the time, I think that what characters are doing, what characters are saying, their reactions to things, sure, through one lens you could view it as them being very human, understandable reactions to the stimuli that they are going through the turmoil of having your child gone. But I think for me, I don't care about a parent going through that turmoil when you've already told me that they were not close to their child. And I think that would be true if it was, Buddy Lee and Ike, and, it was a heterosexual situation, and Buddy Lee's daughter died, or Buddy Lee's son died, and Ike's daughter, whatever the configuration is, right? I think that I would have the same feeling that you are giving me parents who were absent. Ike was in prison for a long time, and then when he came home from prison, he wasn't okay with Isaiah being queer, and he just taught him how to fight because his son was getting bullied for being gay. We don't really know all of the situation. Well, we know that Buddy Lee beat his son like a slave. I think I said that somewhere. But yeah, he beat him like a runaway, is what he said, for kissing a little boy by the river. So both of these are parents who are not supportive, to say the least. And in Buddy Lee's case, certainly abusive. So to read that and then have to care about them, to find, the murderer, the person who did this to their children, I don't care. I think that it's really, and maybe, it's easy to feel sympathy for, people who were quote unquote good parents, right? Like, parents who attempted to be there for their child and did everything that they could for their child, and the child is still dead before them, and there's a lot that they have to process. But when you are admittedly a bad parent, admittedly an abusive parent, I think that you have to do a lot more for me to, especially in the beginning, like, if these things happened in the middle of the story, right? Like, if we had, the father looking back And being like, it was really fucked up for the pastor to call my son an abomination, to focus on him being an abomination or not all of the good things that he did. If in the middle of the book, Buddy Lee went to the landlord and was like, don't you dare call my son, a faggot, after we had seen them processing and accepting and understanding a lot of the ways that they had failed and all of that, right? I think I could believe it. But at the beginning of the book, when you were literally 5 seconds ago talking about how you beat your son like a runaway slave, why would I then think that you were going to go to your landlord and press a switchblade into his stomach, talking about, I'm going to gut you from belly button to neck? I'm going to let your innards flop out of your... Like, why would I believe that that is a thing that you were going to actually do? Why would I believe that that is a thing that is going to exist in the... Like, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's bad writing as far as I'm concerned, and it bothers me. It bothers me. And I think that if I hadn't heard nothing but like praise for this book, if I just heard like, I had a good time, it was whatever, hit or miss things, sure. But I have heard literally not a single bad word about this book. Not a single bad word. I don't know. Maybe I'm just in an era of my reading life where I just need things to be like cotton candy and I can enjoy the mess. But when a book is taking itself seriously, I'm going to take it seriously. Like, I think that Razorblade Tears is trying to take itself seriously. So, I'm just questioning a lot of my sanity at the moment, and I'm kind of annoyed, which is why I'm here after reading 11 pages and not in the car. So, who knows what I'm going to have to say when I get to the car. But I think I've voiced a lot of my frustration now. So, I'm going to go. I still have like an hour before I have to go to work. So
what is that? This isn't gonna be very long because I didn't actually read that much. Since my last check-in, I read till the end of the chapter where what was happening? Oh, which one was it? Ike got a call from the cemetery because his son's grave had been vandalized. They had broken the tombstone in half and wrote nigger faggot on his son's grave, and on the white boy's grave they wrote nigger loving faggot, and tore up the grass, and like I said, broke the tombstone. And that is what has motivated these men, or at least Ike, because what was his name? Buddy Lee? Buddy Lee, Ben came over to Ike and was like, we need to find these hoes. And Ike was like, nah, fam, I've killed 9 people. No, he's killed 10 people. Because he got 9 that he got off scot-free on, and 1 he got the manslaughter charge for. Fucking foolishness. But because his son's grave said nigger faggot on it, he said, oh, it's on. It's on. It's stupid. This book is bad. Nothing about this book is good. I'm sorry, that was really loud. But it's not good. It's just not a good book. These characters are flat. They're very one-dimensional. I understand that it's only been like 50 pages, but the book itself is only 300. So, also it's been 2 months. 50 pages, it's been 2 months. So that was also something that happened. So I will check in when I get home tonight. I don't know when. Maybe when I first get home, I'll like wash my face, make some dinner. I think I'm gonna make some veggie nuggets and some tater tots in my air fryer, and then I'll do my skincare routine while that's cooking, and I'll let you guys know what I think. I'm gonna listen to The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. I know it's not a Black author, I know, but we're doing it anyway. I'm gonna listen to that while I'm at work, so when I get home tonight and do my skincare, I'll have thoughts on that. And then after I eat dinner, my goal is to read some more of Razorblade Tears. It's the goal.
So I've read a little bit more. Actually, I don't think I read more of Razorblade Tears after my last update, but I did listen to 24% now of The Burning God. We're out here. I do think that R.F. Kuang, it feels like when I'm listening to the book, like nothing is happening. And I am listening at 2.5 times speed, so like maybe that's why things seem to just be flying by. I would say that so far I'm enjoying this more, but I could also be lying because we just, where I am ending it to like come and update you guys, Sudaji is back, the Empress herself. And if I'm gonna like any character in this, is gonna be the Empress. So between the prologue being from her perspective and where we are right now, I think it's very clear why I'm having a better time. Overall, it's whatever. We've encountered this like guerrilla mastermind who is like telling Rin what to do because she's stupid and she always has. I think that's the thing I also hate, is that Rin is always the person in charge, but as soon as she becomes the person in charge, we get a character who's telling her what to do. First it was Alton, then it was Visra. Now it's this fucking gorilla man from, I think he's also from Rooster Province. Seji? That's not his name, but that man. So it's like, okay, Ren is the leader lady, but she's also like not the leader person. So like I don't know, I feel like if we're gonna do it every time, why do we keep putting her in charge? And I think it's been made clear so many times that I don't understand why we keep going back to it, right? Like, we get it, she's not the person that you actually want to be in charge of things, and yet we keep doing this. It's very cyclical. I don't know how long this one is. I think it's the longest audio. I don't know if it's the longest book. Probably is. I don't know. Is there anything I have to say other than that? Oh, we got, like, maybe her little foster brother is dead. Maybe he's being held hostage. Maybe Nezha is, like, torturing that little boy. I don't know. Ren doesn't know. I feel like that's gonna come back. She's gonna, like, be sad or something about that because she is still trying to deal with the whole, like, being a murderess, being, you know, she committed genocide. Boo-hoo. Like, okay, maybe I shouldn't say it like that, but, like, I'm kind of over it. Like, you did it. Like, that was 2 books ago. And I guess I've never, you know, buried a country under a massive volcanic explosion. Maybe that, you know, takes a toll on a person. It'd be very reasonable for that to take a toll on a person, but I'm over it, you know? And I'm also over her getting high and talking to fucking Alton, because it's like, bitch, could we do something, like, different? Could we, you know, like, could we just find a new personality? Being Alton's little hallucination, like, best friend is boring, you know? So now that Sudaji is back and the Empress is here, I'm very much looking forward to how the rest of this is going to go. I have dinner right now in my air fryer. I have some lovely little tater tots and my chicken nuggets, like I said earlier. So I'm gonna eat that. I might read some more Razor Blade Tears, but that book is like, it infuriates me. So either I will read some more or I won't, but I will come back. Actually, no, I am gonna read some more. I don't know if it's gonna be Razor Blade. It's gonna be Razor Blade. It's gonna be Razor Blade Tears. I'm gonna try and get to page 100. I think that's like 60 pages. So when I get to page 100 of that, I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna update, I'm gonna close it out because I don't wanna close it out in here. Today has been a really bad reading day, but it's fine, it's fine. Otherwise, my day was fine, it was very average. I should have gone to the store today because I don't have any agave nectar, so my coffee tomorrow is going to be very disgusting. It's not going to be very good, but it's okay because I suffered through it today. I will suffer through it tomorrow because I'm definitely not going to go to the store before my coffee. So I'll check back in a little bit. Hopefully you've had a really nice Monday. Hopefully you've been taking care of yourselves. But okay, I'm actually gonna go now because I'm done. I'm nice and my skin is looking good again. Y'all, I have been lied to, and I've said this many times. But this time, I think this book really takes the cake because I have seen nothing but 4 and 5 star reviews of this book. I have seen people that I know and care about give this book 4 or 5 stars. And I electric chair, death penalty, tomatoes, because this book is ass. And before we even get into it, because I did only read to the 100-page mark, okay? And it was beautiful. It's the start of a new chapter. This book is just awful. And it's not even that the characters are awful, because I see the vision, right? Like, I see that I'm not supposed to care about these people. I understand what the author, Mr. Cosby, is going for. Still throwing tomatoes, because this book is just bad. When Ike started bashing that man's head in, I said this is foolishness. It was just, it's just not for me, right? Like, I can clearly tell that this book is not for me, but I also think that the sentences in this book are just awful. Like, we talked earlier today about, time was like Quicksilver. Today, I mean, it's all been one day. But later on in the book, we had this scene where Buddy Lee is leaning against a sink. His chest is tight like virgin pussy. And I said, why? Like, why? Just like, what in your head said this is the sentence I want to write? And it's not even just that one sentence, because that one sentence happens a lot. Not that exact phrasing, but that theming, right? Like this, I don't want to call it vulgarity, but just utter, like, there's really no other word for it other than fucking foolishness. Because the book is simply, let me make sure that I did not pause the YouTube video sprints that I was watching. So now that I'm not going to be interrupted by random talking, the book is just bad. It's bad. It's been bad from the beginning, and it's bad now. And the part that is really grinding my gears is Ike and Buddy Lee both kind of like realizing that they're bad parents and they weren't really there for their children, but at the same time being very sanctimonious and like judging other people for being like bad. Like, there's a scene where they, I think I did a car update. But there was a scene where Buddy Lee went to the graveyard and his ex-wife was there, and he was like, "You threw our son out of the house. You are a bad mother. What kind of mother does that? Ha ha, you weren't even at the funeral. I was at the funeral. Now you're here and you're too late because you weren't at the funeral." And I was like, "Sir, by your own admission, you beat that boy like a runaway slave. Like, you're both bad parents. Like, you're, for what? Because you're gonna like find the murderer because you just disposed of a body." Also, the way that this man just disposed of a body was the most stupidest thing I've ever seen. They put him in a wood chipper, and then later on they want to talk about how, oh, I have to go throw away my wood chipper. Because all the DNA evidence is inside it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, the DNA evidence is inside of it, but like, at the same time, like, throwing away is not gonna help you. You think the people at the dump aren't gonna notice that you just brought in a perfectly good wood chipper? Like, what? Just what? Then there was this whole scene about how, oh, you got caught moving all of that meth. If I had found that meth, I would have been buried under the prison. And I'm like, sir, you've killed 15 people apparently. Before it was just like 9 people. Now he's been up to like, he has 15 bodies. And I'm just like, you should already be I don't want to say you should be under the prison, because I like the idea of prison abolition. Don't ask me about it because I haven't read anything about it, but like, I like the idea of it. Like, we could reform some other way mayhaps, but either way, the fact that you've killed 15 people, I don't think it would really matter. Don't think it would really matter if you were caught carrying methamphetamines, talking about, you know, people with weed charges. Like, they had this whole conversation about how Buddy Lee was like, oh, you're rich, I'd like to be you. And then Ike wanted to talk about how he faces racism as a black man. And I'm like, I'm sure that's very true. As a black man, I'm sure you do face racism. But this conversation just felt stupid and pointless and like not necessary. The same way that this whole like, oh, you only got 5 years for moving meth. I have friends in jail for weed. Weed. I'm just like, you can't have it. And then like there was this whole like red herring with the blue anarch. The book is bad. This is just ass, 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 and the worst kind of ass. Okay, it's not even good ass. Not good ass. It's the kind of ass that you don't want. So I hate it here. I hope that Kayla is having a better time with this book than I am. I hope for her book. It's her book club book, so I'm hoping she's having a good time. I don't remember who the co-hosts are, but I hope they're having a good time. I'm definitely gonna have to. Part of me wants to tune in to like the live show, but at the same time, like I think I'm the only person I've ever seen hate this book. I think I'm the only one, and I don't think I can really. I don't think I have the headspace to accept people enjoying this. Like, there are times where I don't like a book and I'm just like, I love that for y'all. Like, I love it for the streets, but this I got from the library and I still want my money back. Like, I want the library to get their money back. So, that's where I am. I hope that y'all are having a good time. I hope you had a decent Monday. My plans for tomorrow are maybe I can't finish this. I want to get at least another 100 pages done though. So I need to read 100 pages of that, and I need to read 100 pages of 50 words for rain, which feels doable. I am enjoying this a lot more. I don't know if it's a 5-star read. I'm still looking forward to our main girl, Nori, getting older. I would like to see that a little bit. Fingers crossed. In the next 100 pages, that'll happen. I'm going to continue reading The Burning God at work. So I'm making decent progress. I'm a third of the way into this and a quarter of the way into this and The Burning God. So my TBR is looking pretty decent, seeing, you know, closing out this Monday. So I think I will be able to get to everything that I wanted to get to this week, which is always a bonus. So thank you if you made it in the video. You can let me know how you're doing for the Blackathon down below, and I'll see all of you guys tomorrow with another vlog. So until then, and until next time.